Hello and welcome everybody. So last stream I introduced you guys to my new settlement, and since that time I've made some changes. Not a whole lot of changes, not as much as I would have liked, but I had some health issues to deal with, and needless to say that took a lot of my time away from the game for a while. But now I'm back in the saddle again, and just give you guys a little quick tour of what has changed. Ooh, my volume's pretty high here. Give you a quick tour of what has changed. So, uh, I still have a few things littered about the deed here. As you can see, I had a house here before, and I pretty much got rid of it because I've changed my whole approach to this. This is all going to be gone, um, and I'll get to that and give you guys an overview of the grand plan in a minute. But for now, I'll just show you some of the quick changes. So first of all, I did a little more work on these walls here, and I sloped this so it's easy to kind of go in and out of the water, which I'm going to continue eventually all the way through down this way. I need to add some more dirt to the end here to even it out with this land that's already here. Probably dig out this tile as well and make it a little wider. Um, in any case, that'll line it up with this part of the road. And then walking this way, of course, all these walls have been redone. Um, all the top there has been shaped. I haven't added a mine door on here yet, but I plan to do that soon. There's nothing really of importance in there right now anyway, at least not yet, till I find some veins, but okay, so the main thing is you'll notice there's an inner and an outer wall. So basically I watched a series on castle design videos and how castles were originally designed, and it gave me some ideas as to how I wanted to design this. It's interesting. Why is my character sliding back? Does it look like he's sliding back? Yes, it does. Weird. What's my slope on here? It's only 24. Oh, it's 24 slope. Ooh, really? Ooh, I may need to fix that actually. Now that I look at it, that's a little high. It should have been 20. Another slope to fix. No big deal. At least I found it now. Anyway, yeah, so there's inner and outer walls. So the first set of walls, or the first wall, has a set of small gates. There's three of them, one on this side and two on the other side. And that lets you walk the entire um, area around the entire deed. It also blocks any of the animals from coming up top and running into my deed area and, wanting to fight me all the time. So that took care of that problem. I've also extended my deed border so that it goes beyond the wall. So, if any enemies come up there, for instance, like there's one way up there, if he moves in closer, for instance, my spirit guard will go and take care of him because he's technically within the deed area. So um, that takes care of any animals. So I don't need to worry about, animals bugging me while I'm building. Maybe at one point I'll get rid of the spirit guard, but it's not very expensive to have one, so I figured why not? I'll just have one guard, good enough. Um, at the time I didn't have a guard tower built, but I do now. Let me just check something real quick here. Okay, yeah, that works. Okay, so now you'll notice these walls. So in Worm Online, the tall slate walls have these um, the technical term would be maciculations or something like that. Um, Machiculations? I'm not quite sure how to say it actually. Something like that. Um, anyway, the whole point of it is these were used as sort of a defensive way of preventing enemies uh, from targeting walls and stuff. So I do have a description up in a browser somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. I can't remember which window. Here we go. Yeah, so they're called machicolations. A machicolation is essentially, um, well, actually, there's a few different uses for them. Some of them are different than others. But originally they were water or boiling cooking oil to be dropped at the base of a defensive wall. Um, a smaller version found on smaller structures is called a box machicolation. Um, this is from like medieval times. Um, 9 of them are usually found on defensive walls. Common features. Um, so essentially, it's not quite the same oil or hot whatever onto the enemy. Could serve as an extra defensive barrier on a wall. A good description of it on the castle building video that I saw. Unfortunately, the description on Wikipedia doesn't seem to quite match, but um, sometimes they're also used as a decorative effect. But originally they were used as a defense mechanism. So um, now, commonly in medieval castles, these walls would actually be one tile high and then built this tall stone wall on top. I don't know if that's possible in Worm. I forget if it's possible or not. I don't think you can because technically, well, no, it's a wall, so yeah, it should have worked actually. But I didn't really care. I'm on PvE, so sort of at least quasi design. So at least I went with machine in between the areas on top of the matriculation. Same sort of thought as where you have a hole in between. You could have a guy presumably be prop up between those two and then drop, hot oil or something on an attacker. So it's almost it's close. It's close to what a medieval design castle would look like. The only difference is more options for different types of in War Online. That's just part of the wall design for the tall slate stone wall. There is no way to build these machicolation as separate objects. I got as close as I could to sort of medieval design. And then, of course, portcullises, um, and then the portcullis is the next way in. Now, another point here is sometimes they would have a wooden door either in front or behind the portcullis, um, to prevent the enemy because think about it, I mean, this has open holes. You could shoot arrows through it or whatever, right? But again, I did a little bit of a compromise in the sense that I didn't want to overbuild, just to get as historically accurate as possible, but I got close enough. So, like there's no point for me to add a wooden door in front of this, really. I mean, especially on PvE, even though it would look a little more authentic. But actually, one way that we could make this more authentic in Worm Online is if there was an option to build a portcullis with a built-in drawbridge door. So essentially what it would look like, it'd be the same wall type with a chain that comes out each side, and attached to that chain would be a wooden door that you can lower and raise. And that is actually 100% accurate to medieval castle times, where you could have a portcullis with a attached drawbridge door. And actually, that would be kind of cool if they implemented that in Worm. It would be more realistic, a little closer to say the medieval uh, in real life kind of thing. So basically, they'd add another type of portcullis, which is the same as this. The only difference would be it would have two chains attached with a drawbridge door that you could lower and raise. And presumably, I'm assuming once it's closed, I don't know if you'd be able to lock it separately or not. In the game here, you lock these portcullises with a door lock, so um, I don't know if we created one where it had a drawbridge door, would that be a separately locked door? In other words, the wall would have two locks on it as opposed to one. Probably not needed, but it would be kind of drawbridge doors attached to these, um, just for historical purposes, making it a little more accurate. Anyway, there is now this space here. Uh, along the wall here so you can take a look at the perimeter. These walls were already huge. All I did was pack them down and add slate slabs to them to make it look better. So I did all that work. Chopped a lot of the trees down. There's a few more left to chop. These will all be gone eventually anyway. This stable is going to get torn down and redone once I build a building for stable. I wonder how. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's a 4-speed. Okay. Do I have a new 5-speed? Let's see. Oh, he's new. Pass Boney. Fleeter. There's 4-speed as well. Yeah. One, two. I wish I had a 5-speed out of that one. A, as you can see. And I marked it with coordinates. Now, this is one thing I've noticed. When you sail around the coast and stuff, it's nice to always be able to get a sense of where you are on the map. And I want to make a little suggestion here, or let's just say a reminder. If you're living on a coastal deed and your guard tower is visible from, say, the ocean or a lake or something, it's really useful if you mark your guard tower with the coordinates of where that guard tower has been placed. Because then when somebody who doesn't know the area comes in and they look at the guard tower and they hover over it, they'll be able to tell what coordinate they're at on the map. And people used to do this all the time, and then for some reason it kind of faded away. And there's tons of guard towers out there that just they sit there and they're not marked. And it would be really nice if people took the time to mark them and put their coordinates on them. It's just helpful for players to navigate. So I just wanted to add that little tip um, for people as a reminder. Um, Now, of course, this wall isn't finished because I have to demolish all the stables area here. But this wall is going to connect up with that wall, and that'll enclose the entire deed. Coming on the outside here again, I've got another gate on this side. So when you come into this gate, there's a portcullis right in front of the guard tower. And there's the guard tower. And you go inside and, of course you can't climb this, but you just walk through it. But nonetheless, there it is. And I'll probably be, of course, paving underneath here to make it look nice and pretty, which I haven't done yet. Um, so yeah, that takes care of that part. Now, coming out this gate, I've taken a lot of time to flatten this whole area here for ships, essentially. So over here, there's this whole flat area here of sand, which I turned it all into sand, and I flattened some clay and all that kind of stuff. So there was lots of clay to work with here. And yeah, I basically flattened this whole area out, put some clay down, and uh, and that's that. And yeah, that takes care of that. So this is a whole nice area now to park boats and so on and so forth. So that part is done, essentially. And yeah, so you kind of got a little tour there of what it sort of looks like now. This whole area is of course gonna change. All this junk that's lying around, I'm gonna be moving all of that stuff out of the way. So um, the next thing I will do is bring you into the deed planner. Just let me switch to deed planner here. Okay, so in Deed Planner, this is what I've come up with so far. So these sort of cross-shaped areas on the map here are guard towers, or should I just say towers, that I will end up building. And in addition to that, um, I have a guardhouse that attaches to the main gate, uh, well, what I consider to be the main gate. So when I come down to the 3D view here, you could see this is sort of like I built the walls already, so the walls are done. But what I haven't done is I haven't built the gatehouse yet. Now this gatehouse is designed again to try and mimic a little bit of what a gatehouse would be like. Um, these holes here allow for archers or whatever to attack the enemy while they're stuck in here. Same with the holes above where the stairs are. They can, you know, shoot some arrows down there. The wooden floors, presumably, there probably should be just one tile of wood here, but I'll have to think about that. But in the medieval days, they used to have a wooden floor here, and beneath the wooden floor there'd be a hole. And what they would do is they'd pull back the planks from this floor so that when the enemy comes in through the gate, if they make it through the gate, they would fall into the hole beyond the gate and get stuck in that hole, and that would be making them obviously prone to attack from people inside the guardhouses. So they'd get slaughtered and being stuck in the hole in the ground here. So that's the idea behind a gatehouse, essentially. It's a pretty simple design. Kind of adds a main entrance area to the deed and looks kind of neat. Um, this is where my deed token is right now. Of course, you know, the house is gone in this design, obviously. This whole area where the sandstone fences are, this is all going to be farm. So this is close to or just above 60 tiles worth of farming area. And I'm going to have my planters here. I'm going to have my chickens in here. So this will cover the whole farming area. These are just level 1 towers right now, but these towers will actually be high. I'll be bringing them up as high as I possibly can with my carpentry and paving skill in terms of floors and whatnot. So those will be much higher. Um, so there's going to be one tower there, one in the far corner this way, and then there's going to be an archery tower which kind of sits above and can view the whole deed from here and can rain arrows down onto the enemy below if the enemy was to come that way. Uh, it's just another fancy idea for defense. This area that you saw that was kind of blank, it was like, what am I going to do with this area? I decided that this is going to be a parking area for wagons and horses. So I'm going to turn this all into enchanted grass and make it a parking area for horses. So over here I could fit 6 wagons and then some horses in the front 2 tiles. Um, Now the rest of the areas are all blank right now because I'm going to be adding a bunch of buildings. I'm going to add a great hall. I'm going to add a cooking building, um, a smith for blacksmith. Um, what else am I going to add? There were some other ideas. Let me go back to castle plans here. Yeah, so there'll be a kitchen, which is the cooking building, a great hall, a blacksmith, um, maybe a couple of other buildings. I still have to decide what's going to go in each building, but you get the idea. And then, of course, at the top of each guard tower here, or tower, I'll have marble braziers that light up the place. So that'll be kind of cool. So yeah, I'm pretty content with this. There's lots of room to build extra buildings, functional buildings that are actually useful. Storage areas, there's enough room for farming on deed, there's enough room for pretty much everything I need. So um, the next time I stream, I'll hopefully have more of the design laid out for the buildings on the deed. And and of course at the bottom here where I had flattened that big area for boats to park, I'm actually going to add docks here to make a harbor area. So now that it's all flattened, adding the harbor area is going to be pretty easy and quick to do. So that's what I'm going to do next. That's my plan. And that pretty much sums it up. That's my update for now. Um, and I think I'll leave it at that. Make it a short stream this time just to give you guys an update. Um, I guess one of my inspirations for changing my plans has been the design of a castle that goes back to medieval times. The first work began in the 12th century and then it went into the 13th century. But it's actually a castle that exists. It's a Welsh castle located in Harlech in Wales. It's a medieval fort called Harlech Castle, and they had a nice castle design plan for Harlech Castle available online that gave me an idea of sort of what are the rooms or buildings that they would normally have. And that, in addition to other ideas I got from some of the castle building videos, I was able to sort of come up with a plan for what I want to do here, which is kind of cool. Um, there's actually a few different um, plans available for the for Harlech Castle. One of them includes the stable and the, in addition to some of the other buildings. I think they had the smith in this one plan as well. So the placement of where these buildings are in Harlech Castle is actually what I'm probably going to end up using to sort of decide on the placement of my own buildings for the deed. So I'm going to be placing a lot of these buildings in similar areas as it would have been in Harlech Castle, because Harlech Castle is kind of a square area, similar to what my deed is like. It's pretty much a flat square area. It's somewhat rectangular, but it's square enough that it comes close enough to, say, the design of Harlech Castle. So, um, in addition to that, I'm incorporating other ideas from like, you know, um, what's the word? Um, Homesteading, and some of the building materials they would have used back then. So, for example, stone bottom level with like timber framed top level is common because wood used to rot on the lower floors. So they switched to using stone on the lower floors, and then for the higher floors they would use timber frame. So in the medieval time you'd see a lot of stone on the bottom, and then the rest of the building would be like timber framed. So I'm gonna incorporate some of those ideas to give it a little bit of authenticity, and yeah, just go from there. Um, I'm going to be putting, like, decorating and putting items inside the buildings that make those buildings functional. So for blacksmith, it'll be like smelters and forges. For kitchen, it'll be like FSBs and ovens and everything that's cooking related. For maybe I'll have like an area that I consider my bedroom, so to speak. And in that area, I might have, you know, some tailoring related items. Um, Maybe I'll have like a masonry area or building with like where all the masonry stuff gets done, and storage for masonry stuff, and maybe some clay related stuff. So for building pottery items and things like that. Um, I haven't 100% settled on those ideas, but I definitely want to make each building functional. I don't want to just build a building just for the sake of building it and having a big empty building with like just because it looks good on deed. It has to be functional in some way, shape, or form. The one exception might be these sort of towers, but I don't know, maybe there's a way I can make those more functional too, so I'll have to think about it. But yeah, that pretty much sums up this stream for now. Um, I was hoping to make it to Impalong this year, but I never ended up making it to Shrimpy's Impalong. So maybe next year. Uh, it's not a huge deal, I guess, anyway. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So I will bid you adieu, let's just say, and catch up with you guys next time. All right, take care.